They say intimacy is common, connection is rare, and sex, it's just an act unless it's with a woman who knows her value. A high-value woman does not give herself away for the sake of temporary validation. Her body is a temple, her soul a fortress. She understands that her energy is sacred. She knows that sex is not just physical, it is spiritual. When you are with a high-value woman, you are not just touching her skin, you are touching decades of healing, discipline, and emotional mastery. You are entering a space she has carefully guarded from the world, and you are being given something not because you earned it by charming words, but because you matched the man she prayed for, the man she waited for. Sex with a low-value woman is easy. It costs nothing, it demands nothing, it builds nothing. But sex with a high-value woman demands something very few can give: character, stability, respect, emotional depth. A man who dares to enter the world of a high-value woman must first understand she is not interested in being a pastime. She is not a cure for your loneliness. She is not an accessory to your ego. She is not an escape from your brokenness. She is a mirror. She will reflect your strengths. She will expose your weaknesses. She will challenge you to rise or watch you fall. Because sex, for her, is not the goal. Connection is, alignment is, legacy is. She doesn't offer her body hoping to earn your affection. She offers her soul, expecting to build a kingdom. And if you think you can treat her like the ones who have no idea of their worth, you will lose her before you even touch her. A high-value woman understands that every man who desires her is not entitled to experience her. Attraction is cheap. Commitment is priceless. Sex without honor is self-destruction. Sex without commitment is self-betrayal. Sex without love, purpose, and mutual respect, it is a theft of sacred energy. And she has learned never to rob herself again. If you want a night, you can go anywhere. If you want a lifetime, you better become a man worthy of the queen you pursue. Because sex with a high-value woman is not about lust. It is about love that leads to destiny. And not every man is prepared for that kind of intimacy. Not every man deserves it. So ask yourself, are you coming to take, or are you coming to build? Because a high-value woman does not give herself to a man who comes empty-handed. She gives herself to the man who comes carrying vision, honor, loyalty, and an unwavering commitment to her spirit. Anything less, she will leave you wandering the shallow waters you chose to stay in, while she sails toward the oceans only kings can reach. The high-value woman walks through life with an invisible crown on her head, not because she needs attention, not because she demands praise, but because she knows exactly who she is. She knows what she carries inside of her, and she knows that her worth is not determined by the validation of others. She lives with a quiet power, a silent understanding that she is not for everyone, and that is exactly how it should be. When it comes to intimacy, her standards are even higher. She does not view her body as something to offer freely for temporary satisfaction. She does not engage in meaningless exchanges that leave her feeling empty and unseen. Sex, to her, is a sacred act, not a casual transaction. It is the merging of two souls, the exchange of energies, the intertwining of destinies. She knows that the body remembers every touch, every word spoken in vulnerable moments, every gaze exchanged in the stillness of connection. She refuses to stain her spirit with careless experiences that strip away her purity, her peace, and her power. A high-value woman understands the magnitude of what she offers. She knows that when she gives her body, she is also giving her time, her trust, her essence. She is inviting someone into the deepest parts of her being, parts that are not easily seen or easily reached. She does not open herself to a man who lacks the emotional maturity to understand the responsibility that comes with being let into such a sacred space. For her, intimacy is not a conquest, it is a covenant. It is not entertainment, it is an expression of something real, something enduring. She recognizes the bond that is formed through physical intimacy. She knows the unseen ties that are created, ties that extend beyond flesh and blood, reaching into the unseen realms of emotion, spirit, and memory. That is why she does not gamble with her body. She does not allow access to men who view her as an experience rather than a blessing. She refuses to lower herself to the standards of a culture that has cheapened sex, glorified detachment, and romanticized emotional numbness. She chooses a higher path, a rarer way, one paved with patience, dignity, and divine self-respect. The high-value woman has learned, often through pain, that giving herself to someone who does not value her leads only to heartbreak, confusion, and self-betrayal. She has tasted the bitterness of being misunderstood, of being reduced to a momentary thrill rather than cherished as a once-in-a-lifetime gift. And because of that, she has built strong walls, not out of bitterness, but out of wisdom. She protects herself not because she is afraid of love, but because she understands that real love is rare and worth waiting for. She does not fear loneliness. She fears losing herself for the sake of fleeting pleasure. Her standards are not negotiable. She will not apologize for demanding commitment before surrender. She will not apologize for expecting a man to lead with honor, to pursue her with intention, to court her heart before he touches her body. She knows that real men respect boundaries. Real men honor the sacredness of a woman's body. Real men understand that sex is not the beginning of a relationship. It is the reward of trust, commitment, and proven love. She does not entertain conversations about intimacy with men who have no vision, no integrity, no understanding of covenant. If a man cannot commit his life to her, he does not deserve access to her body. If a man cannot honor her in public, he does not get to possess her in private. If a man cannot provide emotional safety, consistency, and faithfulness, he is not qualified to experience the depths of her love. In a world that has made sex cheap, the high-value woman remains a sanctuary of true connection. She turns down advances not because she is cold, but because she is clear. She rejects shallow offers not because she lacks desire, but because she values herself too much to settle for less than what she deserves. She understands that every man who desires her is not worthy of her. Desire is common, discipline is rare. She waits for the one who is not only captivated by her beauty, but committed to her soul. The high-value woman is not impressed by superficial gestures. She is not moved by flattery or empty promises. She watches how a man behaves when no one is watching. She listens to the way he speaks about women when he has nothing to gain. She observes the consistency of his character, the steadiness of his spirit, because she knows that true intimacy is not just about physical connection. It is about safety, trust, and shared values. When she finally chooses to give herself to a man, it is not out of impulse, but out of deep knowing. It is not out of fear of losing him, but out of the certainty that he has already proven he is worthy. Her surrender is not forced, it is voluntary, it is powerful, it is beautiful. It is the overflowing of a love that has been nurtured, honored, and tested. In her eyes, sex is not about taking, it is about giving. It is the ultimate expression of a bond that has already been built outside of the bedroom. A high-value woman understands that sex can be a gateway to either wholeness or heartbreak. She chooses wholeness. She protects her energy like a treasure. She guards her body like a queen guards her throne. She will not allow herself to be touched by a man whose hands are not clean, whose heart is not pure, whose intentions are not clear. She would rather wait in loneliness than lie in regret. She would rather be misunderstood for her standards than broken by her compromises. She has made peace with delayed gratification. She has embraced the beauty of waiting for the right one rather than settling for the wrong one. She believes in the sanctity of love, the sacredness of union, the beauty of a bond that is built on something deeper than attraction. She knows that real intimacy is rare, and she is willing to pay the price to protect it. The world may call her old-fashioned. The world may call her difficult. The world may call her prideful, but she knows better. She knows that dignity is never outdated, that real love is never casual, that her body, mind, and soul are worth waiting for, fighting for, and cherishing. She is not in a rush to give herself to a man. She is not desperate for validation. She does not need to be needed. She does not long to be chosen by someone who cannot see her worth. She would rather choose herself every single time. She understands that sex is not about validation. It is about union. It is about purpose. It is about destiny. When a high-value woman finally says yes, when she finally opens the doors to her heart, her mind, her soul, and her body, it is a yes that echoes through eternity. It is a yes that has been weighed, considered, and honored. It is a yes that carries the fragrance of patience, the strength of conviction, and the power of divine timing. She is not interested in fast love. She is not seduced by sweet lies. She is not tempted by empty promises. She knows that the man who is truly for her will understand that he must earn the right to stand by her side, and even more, to hold her close. Sex with a high-value woman is a privilege, not a right. It is a rare gift, not a casual experience. It is the culmination of mutual respect, not the beginning of confused attachment. It is the celebration of real love, not the consequence of lustful moments. She treats her body with reverence because she understands the divine within her. She treats her energy with care because she knows that who she gives herself to impacts her spirit, her peace, and her destiny. She understands that every encounter leaves a mark, and she chooses to be marked by love, not by regret. She chooses to be remembered as a woman who knew her worth, who valued her sacredness, and who never allowed the world to convince her that her standards were too high. A high-value woman's sacredness cannot be bought, cannot be negotiated, cannot be imitated. It can only be honored by a man whose soul matches her own, a man who recognizes that in touching her, he is touching something eternal, a man who understands that real intimacy demands patience, integrity, and commitment, a man who knows that sex is not the reward for persistence, it is the reward for love, for loyalty, for divine connection. A man who desires the intimacy of a high-value woman must understand that charm and attraction are not enough. Words can be sweet, promises can be seductive, and intentions can sound pure, but she does not fall for the mask he wears. She looks at the foundation he stands on. She reads the language of his consistency, the quiet truth of his actions, the strength of his self-control when no one is looking. Because intimacy for her is not something given lightly. It is not a prize handed over to anyone who knows how to make her laugh or blush. It is an invitation into the deepest parts of her existence, an access reserved only for the rarest kind of man, a man with character and vision. Character is the substance of who a man truly is when the noise of the world is stripped away. It is not the charisma he projects, but the discipline he practices. It is not the applause he receives, but the integrity he keeps when no one is clapping. She knows that a man without character is a danger, not a dream. He may bring her excitement for a moment, but he will cost her peace for a lifetime. And peace is a currency she will never trade away again. A man of character honors his word. Even when it's inconvenient, he leads with honesty, even when it's not easy. He respects boundaries, not because he is weak, but because he is strong enough to control his desires. He does not manipulate to get closer. He does not deceive to appear better. He stands firm in who he is, flaws and all, because he knows that real strength is not about pretending to be perfect. It is about being real, accountable, and unwavering in principle. She watches how he handles frustration. She observes how he treats people who can offer him nothing. She pays attention to how he speaks when he's angry, how he acts when he's tired, how he behaves when life disappoints him, because these are the moments when true character reveals itself. And she knows that if a man cannot govern himself, he cannot be trusted to steward the treasure of her vulnerability. But character alone is not enough. She seeks a man with vision, a man who knows where he is going, a man who understands that life is not a series of random events, but a purposeful journey, a man who has looked beyond his present and invested in his future, a man whose dreams are built on a foundation of discipline, sacrifice, and faith. A man who does not drift aimlessly through life, chasing pleasure and running from responsibility, but who stands firmly rooted in a calling greater than himself. Vision is what separates a boy from a man. Boys react, men plan. Boys seek comfort, men seek growth. Boys live for the moment, men build for eternity. A high-value woman cannot entrust her heart, her body, her future to someone who has no clear direction, because she knows that intimacy binds destinies, and if he has no idea where he is headed, he could easily lead them both into destruction. A man with vision doesn't just talk about his dreams, he builds them, brick by brick, sacrifice by sacrifice. He understands that greatness is not inherited, it is forged in the fires of perseverance. He is not intimidated by hard work. He is not paralyzed by failure. He sees setbacks as setups for greater victories. And because he sees the bigger picture, he leads with patience, purpose, and persistence.